Ever had one of those moments where, like, your biggest dream comes true
Uh-huh.
and then it just all falls apart,
Oh, yeah.
like, just a few months later?
I can only imagine.
That's what happened to Vanessa Williams,
Right?
the first Black Miss America.
Wow.
So today, we're
Yeah.
doing a deep dive
Okay.
into her life and career,
All right.
um, and we're using her autobiography.
Oh, cool.
You have no idea,
Okay.
which she actually co-wrote with her mother.
Mm.
And we've got some really insightful podcast discussions
Interesting.
about her experiences, too.
I'm excited to dive in.
So I think what's really fascinating is how her story
Yeah.
goes so far beyond the scandal
Okay.
that everyone remembers,
Right.
you know, that really grabbed the headlines.
Makes sense.
We're going to uncover, like, her childhood,
Uh-huh.
which was marked by both, like, achievement,
Yeah.
but also some really deep struggles.
Hmm.
And it all started with her upbringing in this predominantly white suburb of New York.
Okay.
It's almost hard to picture now,
Yeah.
but she was the only Black family
Wow.
in her whole neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah. And even though her parents, who were both music teachers,
Oh, okay.
you know, they fostered this really loving and supportive home,
Yeah.
the reality of racism was just like inescapable.
I can imagine.
She even talks about being called the N-word
Oh, gosh.
on the school bus when she was only 8.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
A really jarring experience
Of course.
that, you know,
Yeah.
definitely shaped her worldview
Yeah.
from a young age.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, no.
At 10 years old,
Gosh.
she was sexually abused by the daughter of family friends.
Oh, wow.
Something that, you know,
Yeah.
would have been even harder to talk about.
Right.
then.
Another.
And this trauma
Yeah.
led to, you know,
Mhm.
periods of withdrawal,
Right.
rebellion. It's crucial to understanding her later choices.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, you know, under the surface of this, like,
Oh,
perfect daughter image,
Yeah.
there was this young woman
Yeah.
who was grappling with so much pain
Of course.
and trying to find ways to cope.
Right.
And she even had this secret boyfriend,
Not really.
Bruce,
Okay.
who was older
Uh-huh.
and not exactly
Yeah.
who her parents had envisioned for her.
Right.
And it's actually with Bruce
Okay.
that she had her first encounter with weed.
Really?
She accidentally grew a plant
Wait a minute.
in her parents' greenhouse
I'm in the greenhouse.
after dropping remnants from her pipe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a weed plant
That's why.
in her parents' greenhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's a detail
Yeah.
that might seem kind of comical now,
Uh-huh.
but it speaks to this, like,
Mm.
deep desire for control
Right.
in a world that just felt really chaotic.
Makes sense.
And then during her senior year of high school,
Uh-huh.
she faces an unplanned pregnancy,
Oh, wow.
leading to an abortion,
Yeah.
which she actually kept secret from her mother for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to carry.
It's a lot for anyone to carry,
Yeah.
let alone a teenager navigating all these pressures
Right.
of school and family life.
Absolutely.
And this all leads us to the summer
Okay.
before she enters Syracuse University.
Right.
It's this summer of, like, freedom, exploration,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
which is such a contrast to
Yeah.
the structured,
Yeah.
image-conscious world
Totally.
she was about to enter.
Wow.
And this is where the infamous nude photos come into play,
Okay.
taken by a photographer named Tom Chappell,
Hmm.
who she trusted not to publish them.
Right.
She actually even worked as his receptionist for a while
Oh, really?
and discovered that his so-called modeling agency
Uh-huh.
was actually a scam.
Oh, wow.
So you see these early encounters
Yeah.
with deception and betrayal,
Right.
which unfortunately became recurring themes in her life.
Yeah, you can see how that would happen.
And there's this layer to the story that I think often gets overlooked.
Okay.
So Chappell convinced her to do a second nude photo shoot,
Hmm.
but this time with another woman.
Okay.
And they were exploring these more like artistic,
Yeah.
silhouette-based concepts.
That's what you're saying.
And Vanessa, to this day,
Okay.
expresses no shame
Good for her.
about those photos.
Right.
She really emphasizes, like, the beauty of the human form
Yeah.
and the artistic intent behind them.
Okay.
It's crucial to remember
Yeah.
that these photos
Right.
were never meant for public consumption.
Of course.
This was a private exploration of self-expression,
Right.
you know, something she felt comfortable with
Totally.
at the time.
Makes sense.
The issue, of course, arises
Right.
with the world's reaction,
Yeah.
a reaction that's inextricably linked. to the context of the Miss America pageant.
Okay.
Now, here's where the narrative
Yeah.
takes an unexpected turn.
Okay.
At this point, becoming Miss America
Uh-huh.
isn't even on Vanessa's radar.
Oh, wow.
Her entry into that world
Okay.
is almost accidental.
Accidental.
It's this series of events
Wow.
that would change her life forever.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I always just assumed
Mm-hmm.
that she had been like a pageant girl
Right.
her whole life.
Yeah.
Like dreaming of that crown.
Yeah, me too.
Tell me more
All right.
about this accidental entry.
So picture this.
Oh,
She's performing in a musical
okay.
at Syracuse University,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend brings along this guy
Okay.
who happens to be on the board
Oh,
of the Miss Greater Syracuse pageant.
okay.
And this guy sees her on stage.
Yeah.
And he immediately declares, like,
Yeah.
she could be Miss America.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's like a scene from a movie.
It really is.
Right.
Did she like jump at the chance?
Yeah.
Knowing that her life could just like
Yeah.
change in an instant?
Surprisingly, no.
Really?
It wasn't a lifelong dream or anything she had actively pursued.
Mhm.
She eventually agrees to participate,
Okay.
motivated more by the scholarship money
Right.
and the unique experience
Okay.
than any deep-seated desire to win.
Huh.
And here's the kicker.
Okay.
She excels almost immediately,
No way.
winning Miss Greater Syracuse,
Wow.
despite having very little pageant experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost as if like
Yeah.
not being consumed by the pressure to win
Right.
gave her an edge.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
she didn't have that desperate need for validation
Right.
that some pageant contestants seem to have.
Oh,
It was like she was just being herself.
yeah, that authenticity probably shone through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this unexpected journey
Yeah.
leads her all the way to the Miss America stage in 1983,
Wow.
where she finds herself competing against
Uh-huh.
these like seasoned pageant veterans.
Right.
Like Suzette Charles,
Okay.
this New Jersey.
Yeah.
Did she believe she had a chance of winning at that point?
Not really.
Wow.
In her mind, Suzette was the clear front runner.
Mm.
Vanessa was simply going through the motions.
Wow.
Even planning a trip to London
Huh.
once the pageant was over.
Wow.
She even practiced what she would do
Oh, gosh.
when Suzette inevitably won.
It's almost heartbreaking to imagine
Right?
knowing what we know now.
Yeah.
You know, she's
bit.
about to be thrust into the spotlight
Right.
that she never saw
Yeah.
while carrying the weight
Yeah.
of these photos
Right.
and a past she desperately wants to keep hidden,
Oh my gosh.
like a powder keg
Yeah.
waiting to explode,
I can see that.
fueled by this intense scrutiny
Right.
and expectations that come with the crown.
Absolutely.
And as we know,
Yeah.
explode it does,
Oh.
changing her life and the trajectory of Miss America
Wow.
forever.
Forever.
You know, it's kind of crazy to think about the Miss America pageant back then.
Yeah.
It was 1983,
Mm-hmm.
and the image of, like, the ideal woman
Right.
was still so narrowly defined.
Absolutely.
You know, these contestants were literally paraded around in swimsuits. But then they were expected to
Mhm.
discuss these complex social issues
Right.
in these, like, super brief,
Yeah.
often really superficial interview segments.
Totally.
It's like, what?
Yeah, it really highlights those
Yeah.
conflicting messages,
Yes,
doesn't it? Like,
I
on
do.
one hand,
Yeah.
you have this emphasis on physical beauty, this objectification of women's bodies. And then on the other, they're trying to showcase their intelligence
Right.
and social awareness, but it all feels so
Yeah. So
constructed.
performative.
Exactly.
It's like they were trying to have it both ways, like clinging to these outdated notions of femininity,
Yeah.
but also trying to present this veneer of progressiveness.
Totally.
And like underlying it all
Yeah.
is this deeply ingrained sexism,
Right.
this message that a woman's worth
Uh-huh.
is still determined by her appearance.
For sure.
And then comes this pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Vanessa Williams,
Right.
Miss New York,
Uh-huh.
is crowned Miss America.
Wow.
The shock on her face
Yeah.
is palpable.
It's like she can't believe it.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can just tell that the weight of it all just hits her.
Hits her hard.
Right there on stage.
Yeah, in that moment.
Yeah. And remember how you mentioned that she hadn't even really processed what it meant to be Miss America.
Yeah.
It's like the reality of that title.
Right.
Those expectations, they all come crashing down on her.
Yeah, all at once.
Totally.
Yeah. She even says in her autobiography that her first thought was, I guess I'm not going to London now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a bittersweet victory.
Right.
Tinged with the knowledge that her life is about to change forever.
Completely.
Whether she's ready or not.
And it's not just her personal life.
Right.
You know, her win is historic.
It is.
She's the first Black woman to hold this title.
Yeah.
Which carries a whole new set of pressures.
Absolutely.
And expectations.
And this is where the contrast with previous Miss Americas becomes even more stark.
Okay.
Instead of being asked about her hobbies or aspirations, she's suddenly fielding these questions about inner city poverty.
Wow.
Education funding.
God.
You know, these really complex social issues.
It's almost absurd.
I know, right?
Like as if her win somehow makes her an instant expert on all these deeply rooted societal problems.
Exactly. It really underscores that symbolic weight placed upon her.
It's like she's not just a young woman who won a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
She's suddenly this spokesperson for an entire community.
Right, for all Black women.
Yeah, a symbol of progress and change.
And all of this is happening while those nude photos are still out there.
Lurking in the shadows.
A ticking time bomb.
And it doesn't take long for it to explode.
Unfortunately.
A few months into her reign, those photos surface in Penthouse magazine.
Wow.
It's this calculated betrayal.
It is.
By Tom Chappell,
the
photographer who capitalized on her fame for his own financial gain.
And the media frenzy is immediate and relentless.
It's all over the headlines.
It is.
It dominates and the public's fascination.
Right.
Or maybe obsession.
Yeah, maybe more like obsession.
It's palpable.
It's like everyone's talking about it.
It's crazy how quickly
I know
the narrative shifts. It's no longer about her accomplishments, her intelligence, or her historic win.
Yeah.
It's all about those photos.
It's all about the scandal.
And the focus isn't even just on the nudity itself. It's on the lesbian implications.
Yeah.
Which add this whole other layer of controversy.
Of controversy and disgust.
That's for many.
It's a stark reminder of the double standards and hypocrisy that just permeated society at the time.
And you could argue, arguably still do.
To some extent, for sure.
It's like her body, her choices are suddenly deemed unacceptable, even scandalous.
Yeah.
Now that she holds this title.
It really exposes those contradictions at the heart of Miss America and maybe American society itself.
Totally.
Like this supposed celebration of womanhood is actually built on these very narrow
and restrictive
ideas of what a woman should be.
It's like they want this illusion of female empowerment. But only within very specific boundaries.
Exactly.
And Vanessa, just by being herself, by making choices that didn't align with those norms, challenged those boundaries.
And the backlash was swift.
Oh, yeah.
And brutal.
The Miss America organization.
Yeah.
Instead of supporting her, they distance themselves.
Totally.
Try to preserve their own squeaky clean image.
They essentially give her an ultimatum.
They do.
Resign within 72 hours.
Yeah.
Or face the consequences.
But they never actually say what those consequences would be.
Nope, it's very vague.
It's like a mafia tactic.
It is.
This veiled threat to shame her into compliance.
Totally.
It's like, nice crown you have there.
Right.
Be a shame if something happened to it.
Exactly. There's this underlying menace.
Yeah.
This implication that things could get worse.
So much worse.
If she doesn't comply.
And surrounded by all this pressure. Facing public ridicule, condemnation. She makes the heartbreaking decision.
She does.
To resign.
It's important to remember that she was only 20 years old.
20 years old.
At the time.
Imagine the weight of the world.
I know.
On her shoulders.
That feeling of betrayal.
The realization that her dream.
Yeah.
Had turned into a nightmare.
Yeah, it's just awful.
And you know.
Yeah.
This decision.
Right.
Really speaks volumes.
It does.
About the power dynamics at play.
Absolutely.
The immense pressure she faced.
As a young Black woman?
Yeah, as a young Black woman in the spotlight.
And what's fascinating is how this scandal ultimately backfires.
It does.
On both the Miss America pageant and Bob Guccione.
Right.
The publisher of Penthouse.
Totally.
The pageant's attempt to distance themselves from Vanessa to sweep it all under the rug, to preserve their pristine image, only served to highlight their hypocrisy.
It was a PR disaster.
It was.
That tarnished their reputation even further.
For sure.
It's like they wanted to pretend it never happened.
Right.
But that only drew more attention.
Yeah.
To the very issues they were trying to hide.
Their actions spoke louder than words.
Exactly.
And Guccione, despite achieving his goal of boosting Penthouse sales in the short term, he faced a lot of backlash.
He did.
People saw his actions as exploitative.
Right.
A violation of trust that really fueled the movement against pornography.
It's almost as if the scandal exposed the cracks.
It did.
In these seemingly powerful institutions.
Right.
Revealed their vulnerabilities.
And it ultimately contributed to their decline.
Exactly.
The Miss America pageant.
Yeah.
Which was already facing criticism for its outdated values. Narrow definition of beauty.
Right.
Saw its viewership plummet in the years that followed.
And their attempts to modernize.
Right.
To shed their old-fashioned image.
Yeah.
It felt forced and unsuccessful.
Like trying to put a millennial filter
I know, right?
On a Gen X institution.
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't translate.
And it comes across as inauthentic.
Exactly.
And while the pageant struggled to stay relevant, Vanessa Williams' career flourished.
It did.
It's this remarkable contrast.
It is.
A testament to her resilience.
Her talent.
Her talent.
Her refusal to be defined by this one event.
It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
It is.
She goes on to have this successful music career.
Yeah.
Wins Grammy Awards.
Right.
Stars in films like Soul Food. And even lands a leading role.
Wow.
In the hit TV show, Ugly Betty.
Ugly Betty, that's amazing.
It's inspiring.
It is.
To see her not only bounce back, but thrive.
Yeah, in a way that few could have predicted.
And her success goes beyond just talent and hard work.
Yeah.
It really highlights this concept of respectability politics, particularly for Black women in the entertainment industry.
That's something we haven't really delved into yet.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand.
Okay.
Could you elaborate on that concept?
Of course.
And how it relates to Vanessa Williams' journey?
So respectability politics is essentially a strategy often employed by marginalized groups to combat negative stereotypes and gain acceptance within the dominant culture.
So it's like...
Yeah, it involves adhering to mainstream norms of behavior and appearance, presenting oneself as respectable in order to counter prejudice and discrimination.
So in Vanessa's case, would you say that her post-scandal image, the polished, the poised...
Yeah, the undeniably talented.
Yeah. Was that a conscious effort?
I think it's certainly a factor.
To navigate those societal expectations.
Think about the image she cultivated after the scandal. Impeccably dressed, articulate professional. There was this sense of control.
Yes.
A deliberate distance from anything that could be perceived as messy or controversial.
It's like she was saying, you want to judge me?
Yeah.
Fine, but you're not going to find anything to criticize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a strategic response to the double standards she faced. A way to navigate a world that was already predisposed to judge her harshly.
And it's a strategy that so many Black women, particularly those in the public eye,
especially,
have had to adopt.
It's a shame, though.
It is.
That they have to carry that burden.
Right.
To constantly prove themselves worthy of respect and acceptance.
It makes you wonder if this need to project perfection, to adhere to these narrow definitions of respectability, also played a role.
I think it definitely did.
In the decline of Miss America itself.
The pageant's whole premise was built on this unattainable ideal of womanhood. Which became increasingly out of sync with the realities of women's lives. And as society evolved, as women gained more agency and power, that ideal started to feel less aspirational and more oppressive.
It's like the pageant was this gilded cage.
He was.
Promising opportunity,
right.
but ultimately restricting freedom of expression and individuality.
And Vanessa, whether intentionally or not, broke free from that cage.
She did.
She refused to be defined by the scandal, rebuilt her career on her own terms, embraced her talent and ambition.
Totally.
Without apology.
And in doing so, became a far more relatable, more inspiring figure.
Than any perfectly coiffed, perfectly behaved Miss America.
It's a testament to the power of authenticity.
It is.
You know, she owned her story, imperfections and all. And ultimately, that's what resonated with audiences.
It's a reminder that true empowerment comes from within.
Yeah.
From embracing your complexities.
Right.
Refusing to let others define you.
And that sometimes the most compelling stories, the ones that really stay with us, are the ones that defy easy categorization.
Right.
The ones that force us to confront our own biases and assumptions.
Exactly.
So it's fascinating to see Vanessa's success, you know, unfolding while the institution that crowned her Miss America struggles to stay afloat.
It really is.
What do you think ultimately led to its decline?
Well, it's a confluence of factors. You have the changing cultural landscape, evolving notions of beauty, womanhood, success.
It's like the pageant was clinging to this outdated script. Totally. This vision of femininity that just didn't resonate anymore. With a society that was rapidly transforming.
Absolutely. And then you also have the changing media landscape.
Right. With cable TV, the internet, social media.
Exactly. People had so many more entertainment options.
More diverse voices.
Right. And the Miss America pageant, which was once this huge cultural event, just couldn't compete with all the content out there.
It's almost like they became a victor of their own success.
In a way.
That helped create this national obsession with beauty and spectacle.
Totally.
But that obsession just outgrew them.
And then there's the economic factors, too.
Okay, right. The sponsorships.
Exactly. They relied heavily on sponsorships, advertising revenue, which dwindled as viewership declined.
And they tried to adapt.
They did.
Modernize their image.
Right, but it always felt kind of forced.
Like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Yeah, the underlying issues were just too deep.
Yeah, too ingrained.
To be easily fixed.
And those attempts to revamp the competition.
To
drop the swimsuit portion. Emphasize scholarship.
Social impact. It all felt reactive.
Rather than truly transformative.
Exactly.
So we have Vanessa Williams.
Right.
Who embraces her complexities.
Defies expectations.
And builds a successful career on her own terms.
And then you have the Miss America pageant, struggling to adapt.
Clinging to those outdated ideals.
Right, which ultimately led to their downfall.
It's a striking contrast.
It is.
What does this all mean for us, the listeners?
Well, I think it's a call to action.
Okay.
To question our own definitions of success.
Right.
Celebrate those who break the mold.
Yeah.
Embrace authenticity in ourselves and others.
I love that.
It's about recognizing the power of resilience.
Okay.
The importance of taking control of our narratives.
And that enduring human capacity for growth and transformation.
Absolutely.
That's a Williams story.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the human spirit. You know, that ability to overcome adversity.
And defy expectations.
And emerge stronger on the other side.
Right. It reminds us that our past doesn't define us. That our choices have power.
And that we can create our own paths, even in the face of obstacles.
To success and fulfillment.
It's an inspiration.
It is.
A beacon of hope. A reminder that we all have the power.
To write our own stories.
Yeah.